All right, I have a notepad open here so that we can go over a few things. But I posted a video about, there's all this drama about who's the GOAT. Is it Maru? Is it Cyril? Right? And whenever I say something that the hive mind of StarCraft Reddit disagrees with, I get really stupid comments, but normally it doesn't really bug me. This one kind of bugs me a little bit, so I want to go over a few of the things. These guys on the StarCraft Reddit and in the YouTube comments, they talk shit about guys in the chat, but honestly, like an ASCII of Naked Mario is more valuable and nuanced than a lot of the reasons they're giving why Cyril's the GOAT. Okay? So let's go over a few of them and why they're fucking stupid. So first off, prize winnings. People are like, he was the first person to win $1 million. And here's the thing. I want to make this clear at the beginning as well. I like Cyril a lot. I actually think he's the strongest player in the world. Okay? But you can't just give someone the GOAT, and I'll get into that. Anyways, prize winnings. Prize winnings, that is not what matters. That's not what matters. That is not something that you should be measuring as like, this is why this is the GOAT. It simply is not. GOAT is about having the best record on paper. Like looking at it and being like, okay, this guy won like the world championship the most times or whatever it may be, which we've already talked about and we're going to talk about again. But prize money is not there. It is not an argument for being the GOAT, especially considering how many tournaments he gets to play in Europe that the Koreans don't have access to. Absolutely not. You cannot use that. Okay? Another thing that I saw, this one's kind of crazy. I think most people agree with me on this one. When I saw this, it blew my mind. Some people think online should matter as much as offline. It's not the same thing. If you think that online and offline playing, like tournaments, are equivalent or even close to equivalent, I actually feel really bad for you because, first off, I know that you've never competed, but also, like, online and offline are just not the same thing. It is not the same thing. Like, you type all tough on the internet comments, but, like, could you say that in front of a crowd? Probably not, right? It's like there's so much more pressure offline. It's where it really matters. There's crowds, right? There's people watching and cheering, and there's all this pressure because you traveled there and you don't want to look stupid and all these things. So anyone who's saying that online matters anywhere near, it's not even close. It's not even close. Offline is really, that's the big thing that matters. There's so many problems with online play. And like, if you ever actually competed, you'd understand like games look completely different online and offline. You have to play a completely different way. It's a different skill set. Then we had people saying, because I pointed out that Rogue probably has the best. Now, I'm not saying anyone's the GOAT because I think it's quite disputed, but I say that Rogue has the best claim to it. And people are like, well, head-to-head, Cyril's beating Rogue. Head-to-head is not what matters for GOAT. It doesn't fucking matter. There can be people with winning records against you, okay? If you think that head-to-head is the thing that puts you head and shoulders above somebody else in the greatest of all time, that literally doesn't even make sense. Did you know that MMA is not in the discussion for greatest of all time? But like probably fifth on the list is MVP? But MMA has a winning record against MVP. Did you know that in Brood War, Flash is the GOAT, undisputedly? But Effort is undefeated against Flash in best of fives and has won multiple Star Leagues. He's not even considered the best Zerg ever. Like, the head-to-head is not what you look at. That's not what makes you GOAT, is having a winning record in that, okay? Let's see. Also, GSL people were like, oh, it's disingenuous to say that GSL isn't region locked. Okay, first off, it's not. Bullshit. It's not region locked. Also, when you look back to when the European tournaments, the tournaments in Europe and North America were not region locked, the top Korean pros were actually flying around the world for months at a time, living out of hotels and airplanes and shit. That's a lot harder than going to Korea for a few months to play a tournament and living in the same place, right? when people like, I actually saw someone say this was the fucking craziest thing I ever saw. Someone said you simply have to live in Europe to participate in these tournaments. That's not the case. That's not the case. They made it super complicated for Koreans to have to go over and get proper visas. I remember this happening when some of the teams were trying to get Koreans over there. That's just not the case. Whereas for GSL, you just email them. You're like, I'm going to play. And then you get on a fucking plane and you go and you play. Right. So that isn't what it is. Okay. Some people did mention that Cyril has said in the past he doesn't feel, I'm not directly quoting him, but he said something to the effect of he doesn't feel he has anything to prove by going and playing GSL. That's totally fine. I have absolutely no beef with that. And I don't think he has anything to prove. I think Cyril's the strongest player in the world. Right? But let's think about another sport. Okay? Let's say that you're a tennis player, right? And right, like we have a few people in the running for GOAT in tennis right now. But if you had another guy that had as many Grand Slams as, you know, the other GOATs, but they never won half of the fucking Grand Slams or even one of the Grand Slams, you would never consider that, right? If you've never won Wimbledon, but you have the same amount of overall Grand Slam wins as Novak, that would just fuck your chances. You're not GOAT, right? Also, like, to keep on that tennis thing, what if you're like, you know what? I don't like clay. I'm never going to play a clay tournament. But you have just as many championships. I'm never going to go to Roland Garros. I'm never going to play clay tournaments. Okay, I'm the GOAT. It's like, well, no, that is an aspect of tennis that is important, right? So you can't really do that. You can't, right? Because, like, GSL is a prep tournament. Right? It's a completely different type of tournament, which is actually historically for 25 years been the most important in professional StarCraft is prepping for matches. So you can't just say, well, he doesn't need to play those. You know, that seems silly. If you say that, then like Maru doesn't need to play the World Championship. It's like, what? Of course you need to play the World Championship. What are we fucking talking about? You're going to be the GOAT. You have to have a World Championship. You can't just not have a World Championship and be the greatest of all time. That doesn't make sense. Simply does not make sense. And so anyways, I took just a couple minutes today. This wasn't too hard. And I just went through what these players have won that should be like kind of considered. Okay. Let's take a look, right? Cyril. Okay. Now for weekend tournaments, premier weekend tournaments. All right. Here are his victories. I am Cato 2024. ESL Masters Summer 2023, 2019 GSL vs. World, 2018 GSL vs. World. Okay, those are super top tier tournaments. You cannot deny these wins. These are really important wins. There are some other ones like Home Story Cup. He won 3 Home Story Cups. Okay. Does that count as much as these? I don't think that it really does, but we'll just write that there, okay? And just leave that there as like, does this factor towards GOAT winning Home Story Cups? I don't think so. I think most people agree with me. It doesn't really, but like, I mean, there's strong players there, and those are pretty big, and there are some Korean players in those tournaments for sure. So we'll leave that there. Okay, World Championships. Okay. So for Cyril, we had 2022 Cato and 2018. Yeah, that was at BlizzCon, right? I'm trying to remember. If I get one little thing about like which location was at wrong, sorry. I guess you can try to use that next to discredit fucking reasonable, logical thoughts. Okay, and then GSL 0. Okay. Now let's do Rogue. Okay, what are Rogue's like super top tier like weekend events that he won? Okay. 2021 Super Tournament 3, 2017 Super Tournament 2. I am Shanghai 2017 Cato. Okay? So those are his weekend tournaments. So let's take a look. Katowice, like a global everyone plays tournament, Two tournaments here, which were each half Korean, half foreigner. Two fully Korean tournaments, because foreigners have never qualified except for one time for Super Tournament. Okay. World Championships. He won 2017, obviously. That was BlizzCon, right? And is it 2020 Kato? I want to say. Yes. Okay. So that's the World Championships. And okay, now let's go to GSL. All right, 2022 Season 1 Code S. 2021 Season 1 Code S. 2020 Season 2 Code S. 2019 Season 3 Code S. Okay, so let's compare these once again, right? So this is approximately equal to that, I would say. Right? This is approximately equal to that, I would say. This is 4 GSLs ahead of that. Right? Am I getting something wrong? Maybe I'm getting something wrong here. But maybe the people who want to just GSL, you guys are such trolls in the chat. You guys are such trolls. But and the thing is, like, I could go either way on adding the home story cups, all that. And look, whoever is this, this is another one that I heard that I actually forgot to talk about before. People saying like, oh, he's the strongest ever. I think that right now he is the strongest player that there's ever been. That doesn't mean that you're the GOAT, right? There's going to be a player that wins a tournament convincingly that is not Cyril coming up. Are we going to say he's the GOAT because he's hit the highest skill level ever? No, that's not how you do this. That's not how you do that. You look at the actual things that they've won. You look at the ones that matter, the prestigious shit, the stuff that every player that plays wants to win. And so when I look at this, again, I think in my opinion, okay, Cyril is the strongest player that we've had. The player I'm actually most impressed with is Maru, personally. I'm super impressed with Maru between his longevity and, what he's been able to do with Terran over the years when other players could not. But when you look at the greatest of all time and you compare everything that there is, right? We're not comparing, the season 3 of the Europe Cup. Rogue actually outstrips Cyril in this way. And I don't, maybe I'm getting it wrong. Maybe someone can fix this for me. But there you go. That's my answer to all the ignorant people just screaming that Cyril must be the GOAT. Tell me what you think.